morning and welcome to NYSE Live. I'm Ashley Mastronardi. We would also like to give a very warm welcome to the StubHub employees watching today on Unity. The global online ticket marketplace is on hand to celebrate its IPO at the New York Stock Exchange. We're going to be right back. And we're back. Last night, StubHub announced that it raised $800 million by offering 34 million shares at $23.50, valuing the company at $8.6 billion. Shares of StubHub will begin trading under the ticker symbol STUB later today. Today's session will also be significant for U.S. economic policy. The Federal Reserve will deliver its highly anticipated decision on interest rates this afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern. Shortly thereafter, at 2:30 Eastern, Fed Chair Jerome Powell will deliver remarks about the path forward. According to the latest data, traders are pricing in a more than 95% chance that the Fed will cut interest rates by 25 basis points to a range of 4 to 4.25%. This would mark the Fed's first interest rate cut since last December. Here's what's on tap this hour. We'll set the scene for this afternoon's Fed decision with insights from Harvey Flax of NYSE parent company Intercontinental Exchange. He'll take us through the data points that he'll be following most closely. We will, of course, be covering StubHub's IPO celebration throughout the hour, including coverage of the company signing the Distinguished Guest Book on the trading floor, and we'll give you a front row seat to the opening bell at 9:30 Eastern. And some of the biggest names in fintech are at Money 2020, Middle East, and Saudi Arabia. That includes Sandra Rowe, CEO of the Global Blockchain Business Council. She's going to tell me how the industry is moving from hype to infrastructure. But as we usually do here on NYSE Live, we begin with the markets. As the Federal Reserve prepares to deliver its decision on interest rates at 2 p.m. Eastern. Joining me now is Harvey Flax. He's the Director of U.S. Interest Rates Futures Business Development for Intercontinental Exchange. Harvey, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Ashley. Thanks for having me on.
So what are futures indicating right now about today's Fed meeting?
Sure. Let's jump right in. The futures market is indicating a near 100% probability that the Federal Reserve will lower its monetary policy rate, Fed funds, by 25 basis points this afternoon, moving their target range from 4.25 to 4.5 to 4 to 4.25%.
All right. And what are the market views on shorter-term Fed policy?
So in addition to today's pricing, the market's also pricing in roughly an 85% probability that the Fed will have a second 25 basis point rate cut at its next meeting in October, and a 75% probability of a third 25 basis point rate cut at its final meeting of the year in December.
All right, and recent public statements from a few of the Fed's policymakers are reflecting a change in sentiment on interest rate policy for the rest of the year. What are the drivers behind this?
Sure. Certainly a sentiment change at the Fed since the last meeting in July. And interesting, that last meeting in July had a unique event for Fed meetings. For the first time in about 30 years, you had two board members vote against the majority. They dissented. They voted for rate cuts, where the remaining 5 board members and 5 bank presidents voted to keep rates on hold. Now, looking at this afternoon's policy meeting, it is quite possible that you will have a similar, though maybe not as historical, where you could have the majority voting for a 25 basis point rate cut. You may have 1 or 2 policy makers voting for a greater rate cut by dissenting. And you could also have 1 or 2 policymakers dissenting to keep rates on hold. We'll find out at 2 p.m. Now, to answer your question about the driver, simply deteriorating labor market conditions. Since the July meeting, up to the July meeting, I should say, the Fed indicated that they had the luxury of waiting to lower interest rates this year as they focused on stubborn inflation with the background of a steady state labor market. since the July meeting, the last two labor reports have indicated deteriorating conditions in that labor market. Basically, they have come in below forecast, and more importantly, the last two reports have reflected a significant downward revision of those reports, those data reports.
And the summary of economic projections will be released today. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how it might indicate what the market thinks is going to happen?
Sure. Now, the market itself is basically pricing in 3 additional 25 basis point rate cuts for next year. One in March, one roughly mid-year, either at the June or July meeting, and one at the end of the year, either the October or November meeting. Now, the summary of economic projections, also known as the dot plot, economists believe that the Fed will be somewhat, or the Fed at all will be somewhat more conservative, perhaps pricing in 1 or 2 25 basis point rate cuts for the end of this year, and perhaps 1 or 2 for next year. Again, they're going to be completely focused on keeping the country fully employed, but at the same time managing inflation.
And Powell will be making remarks after this meeting. What are your expectations?
Well, not so much mine, but the economists believe that with a 25 basis point rate cut, he will have to address the why, the driver for that 25 basis point rate cut. And obviously, more than likely, it will be those deteriorating labor market conditions. They also believe that Chair Powell will continue to reflect that the Fed will remain data dependent, that every meeting is a live meeting, and there could be an adjustment to monetary policy, and that their focus will be to continue to keep inflation near their 2% target range, as well as maximizing employment in the United States.
All right, and this Fed monetary policy, what are the implications on the mortgage rates and housing market?
Well, the mortgage market, specifically the 30-year fixed in the United States, which is roughly 85% of the mortgage lending, is driven by the U.S. Treasury yield curve, specific to the 30-year, the 7 to 10-year sector. Now, the Fed drives the shortest term interest rates in the country, basically governs short-term loans. In general, there's little crossover, but in a rapidly declining rate environment or rising rate environment, you could have some crossover, and it could impact the Treasury yield curve. With that said, the ICE 30-year fixed mortgage rate lock future is indicating that 30-year fixed mortgage rates will be approximately 6% in March of next year.
All right, Harvey Flax from Intercontinental Exchange, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure to be here, Ashley. Thank you.
Thank you. Coming up, NYSE listed Samsara is helping companies like Home Depot operate smarter and more efficiently. Find out how next.
At ICE, we aim to solve some of the biggest problems in markets. Often these issues come down to a lack of transparency because a market doesn't have the right technology, data, or systems. We address this by digitizing analog markets. Digitizing markets brings transparency. At the heart of this is our technology. It's the same technology which underpins our trading venues, that powers the New York Stock Exchange, that drives our fixed income pricing, and our mortgage platform. Deep trust in our markets has made us the world's largest exchange for energy trading. Our exchanges price the world's most important commodities, many of which support the shift to lower carbon fuels. In mortgages, we operate across the life of a loan. Through electronification, we're making the home buying process faster and simpler. And through our data, we're bringing new transparency to mortgage securities. We're bringing you powerful, fast technology, access to a depth of market data. We're building liquid markets across asset classes and geographies, and we're listening to our customers every day about what you need.
Welcome back to NYSE Live. NYSE listed Samsara says it's transforming how fleets operate, delivering smart insights for vehicles and equipment that it says is driving major savings for customers. I spoke with Samsara co-founder and CEO Sanjeet Biswas more about what it's offering its clients. Take a listen.
So we're a technology company. We have customers like the Home Depot, DHL, and Ecolab, just to name a few. And what we do is help them operate smarter and more efficiently. So that's around safety, efficiency, and sustainability.
When you say you're helping them operate smarter, right? You're delivering this intelligence. Can you provide some use cases of what the technology that Samsara is providing is doing?
Absolutely. So if you think about these businesses, they're the world of physical operations, the infrastructure that powers our planet. To do these jobs, they need a lot of people. So they have very large frontline teams and they have a lot of equipment and assets. And so what we're doing is taking data from all of those field operations, helping find insights in it using new technologies like AI. And what we're able to do is improve their safety out on the road. So with our cameras, with our coaching and all the software we provide, we can actually help reduce accident risk by anywhere from 20 to 80%. So very significant gains in safety. When it comes to efficiency, we help them replan their routes, find ways to drive more fuel efficiently, find ways to utilize their equipment more efficiently. And all of this translates to real ROI for them, real savings, but it also improves the safety of their operations and the sustainability.
What is the range of industries that Samsara serves?
It's a pretty broad set of industries. So the world of physical operations makes up about 40% of the world's GDP. We're talking about industries like construction, energy utilities, logistics companies delivering food and beverage, all the way down to local governments who help run our towns and communities.
All right, and you gather data points from vehicles, equipment, and from frontline workers. How does this data aggregation impact customers?
Well, it's all about bringing that data together. So there's a lot of data we can collect about the field operations, everything from GPS waypoints to video camera feeds, from dash cameras all the way to fuel card transactions. By bringing it together in one cloud, we're able to find patterns in that data and help do really practical things like reduce risk. Because it turns out a lot of what we see in this data is a pattern of, okay, well, someone's got a bad habit of looking at their mobile device, or maybe they're following too closely. If we can coach those behaviors, we can really get to the risk ahead of time, and that prevents accidents from happening in the first place. And to put numbers on it, we believe in the last year, we've helped prevent around 300,000 accidents on the road. That's really compelling for us as a company. It's what drives us in terms of our mission. It's also compelling for our customers because it means they can operate significantly safer on the roads.
When you're learning about these things, like someone texting while driving, for example, and you're gathering this data, walk me through how you're actually gathering it and then how you're using it to increase safety.
The way that we gather the data is using the dash cameras that you'll see in a lot of trucks. We're able to run AI models in the cameras themselves. So you don't need somebody watching the cameras. In other words, the technology is able to detect these patterns on its own. And within seconds, it's able to give people a little warning or a reminder to please put down their mobile phone or remember to put on their seatbelt. These reminders are what reduce risk. So in the moment, people realize, okay, yeah, I should increase my following distance, or I should be a little bit more careful. That's ultimately resulting in fewer accidents on the road.
All right, and your Q2 earnings were just released. What are the takeaways for investors?
We had another strong quarter of durable and efficient growth. So for us, we're constantly looking for ways to serve more customers. We've been growing revenues north of 30% year over year, and we're free cash flow positive. So for us, this is about a long-term journey that we're on. We have a lot of work to do in the world of physical operations. We had a lot of strength in the enterprise as well. So most of our customers are large corporations and large organizations that have, tens of thousands of frontline workers and tens of thousands of assets. We had a record number of those large enterprises sign up with us, and we're proud to be serving them across all the industries we just talked about.
Speaking of partners, just announced a partnership with First Students, and they operate a fleet of about 46,000 vehicles. Can you share more about that?
Absolutely. So First Student is the largest provider of student transportation in North America. So 46,000 yellow school buses, you've probably seen them on the roads. They move about 5.5 million students to and from school every single day. So we're proud to partner with them on safety. In our pilot, they saw a 30% reduction in the number of accidents that were happening. And that's incredibly important given what they do every day in terms of getting children to and from school. And we're able to help with other areas of their operation, whether it's maintenance or the way they're running their routes. There's so much that you can do with this data.
You mentioned, I believe you said it was a 30% reduction in accidents. Again, how is your technology, doing that?
Well, it's really all about understanding risk. And there are so many leading indicators of risk that are out there. And that could be everything from driving habits to how much speeding is going on, to how you handle traffic situations. What we've identified is ways for technology to be helpful to these drivers in the moment, so it can provide them real-time feedback and cues. We can also help coach them. So at the end of their shift, or maybe at the end of each month, they can do a quick review of, well, what are some habits I need to address? And also, what are some things that are going great? And so we balance all of that, we bring it together in a really practical way. And that's ultimately how millions of frontline workers are able to improve their safety and also just their operational efficiency using technology.
Incredible. What is the biggest area of business focus for the next year?
Well, we really have two. The first is we're continuing to innovate as a technology company. There's so much going on with artificial intelligence and data analytics that we have a lot of projects underway to bring new products to market and bring new technologies to market. And then the other is customer service. We want to make sure that we're getting these technologies out there, that we're having the impact in the world that we think is possible. And the way we do that is by partnering closely with these companies. These large enterprises are very complex. They have a lot of things going on in their workforce. And so we want to make sure that we're providing the right tools and the right technologies.
Thank you, Samsara co-founder and CEO Sanjit Biswas for that interview. Coming up, the fintech industry is making plenty of headlines at this year's Money 2020 Middle East event in Saudi Arabia. We'll have more on this story when we come back.
Launch team is ready to proceed at this time.
You have permission to launch.
FPU is go. LRD is go. SRO is go. CDR is go.
Ignition sequence start. Engines on.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Liftoff. We have liftoff.
Hosting this event is a tremendous honor for us at the New York Stock Exchange. We like to remind people that our nation and our markets grew up side by side.
Lynn, thanks to you and the Stock Exchange for permitting us all to gather. It's so good to be back here.
But tonight, it's not just another elegant dinner among distinguished peers. It is a turning point in the history of the Medal of Honor.
We're honored to be in the presence of nearly 20 of our nation's 61 living Medal of Honor recipients.
This evening marks a renewal, a reaffirmation of our mission, and a call to action for all of us who are entrusted with carrying this legacy forward.
Because of people like you, we are able to do what we do every day, to turn that dream into a reality.
Welcome back to NYSE Live. While the Fed is creating buzz here on Wall Street, the fintech industry is making plenty of noise in Saudi Arabia. More than 1,000 investors and 450 speakers are at this year's Money 2020 Middle East event in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, with the mission of shaping what's next for money, finance, and tech. Joining me now is Sandra Rowe. She is the CEO of the Global Blockchain Business Council. Sandra, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Sandra, what are the biggest storylines you've been following on the ground in Saudi Arabia?
Well, it's absolutely a buzz about innovation, but I want to point out three main sort of thread lines I've been following. Number one is related to digital payments. stable coins, especially how it aligns with traditional finance and foreign exchange markets. How will we fit all of this in together? Number two has been obviously around AI and its implications for financial services. There's a lot around AI agents. And then third, which may not be as obvious, but it's been really inspiring for me, is really focusing on what the young people are doing in Saudi Arabia. And I had a chance to meet with a blockchain developer who just inspired me on so much of what's going on amongst the young people here.
All right, and earlier today you delivered a presentation about blockchain's new global playbook. What did you want attendees to take away from it?
Well, firstly, the global blockchain playbook is truly global. There is blockchain happening all over the world, but it's local. When you get down to the local level, you do have to look at what are the emphasis points. Some of it's tokenization. Some folks are talking about stable coins. And here, particularly on the ground in Saudi Arabia, I am hearing quite a bit about tokenization of financial products, as well as real estate, and also stable coin.
All right, and I understand, Sandra, that you are a proponent of human-centric technology. Can you explain for us what that means?
Absolutely, super simple. What is the problem that we are solving, and how can we use technology to actually solve those big problems? And I know there's often criticism around blockchain is looking, for a problem, but now I think we've truly found use cases that are supporting financial services industry, and the killer app at the moment happens to be stablecoin, but there's much more behind that.
Sandra, I'm just going to pause you for 1 second. I just want to show we are down on the trading floor. Eric Baker, the CEO of StubHub, will be signing the Distinguished Guest Book. We're just showing them at the podium. That happened before the opening bell. And apologies, we will get back to you, Sandra. So, Sandra, you started your career in investment banking and you've pivoted into blockchain. What are some of the correlations you've noticed between the financial world and blockchain?
Well, the simple word I like to use is convergence. We are now seeing financial services converge with blockchain technology and as the next generation underpinning of a lot of what will be future digital financial products.
All right, and how is AI impacting the use of blockchain?
I think there are a number of different areas where blockchain and AI will come together. But at its simplest form, I think AI will be helped by having blockchain as the source and provenance of data, meaning data is true because blockchain has verified such, and having that recorded with AI built on top.
All right, and are you able to share with our viewers more about the Global Blockchain Business Council, including its mission and some of its latest initiatives?
Sure. The Global Blockchain Business Council, or GBBC as we call it, is the largest nonprofit association focusing on blockchain, digital assets, crypto, and we're based in Switzerland. We focus on education, public-private partnerships. We spend a lot of our times helping regulators, C-suite executives, and central bankers really truly understand all the various aspects of this technology.
And long-term, Sandra, what do you see for the future of blockchain and crypto?
Long-term, it's here to stay. And I think now it's really, truly about scaling and how do we take what is grassroots growth to now levels of multi-trillion-dollar industries in the making.
All right, and any other takeaways from Money 2020 in the Middle East?
Well, for anyone who has not visited Riyadh before, I highly recommend it. This was my first visit to Riyadh. The people have been amazing. The curiosity, the generosity, the kindness. There is business happening here, and it's open to those who are really interested in partnering and working on the ground here. So I highly recommend people pay a visit.
And I know, Sandra, that you mentioned you were following what younger people in Saudi Arabia are doing. What are some of the other things that they are interested in and exploring in this area?
Well, I have to tell you, I've been so pleasantly surprised that both young men and young women have been in attendance here at Money 2020. And the curiosity stems from fintech, to learning about blockchain, to learning about digital payments, and it really does run the gamut. And I think we need to foster that. And insofar as GBBC can help support on the education side, we will be doing that.
Awesome, awesome mission. Thank you, Sandra Rose, CEO of the Global Blockchain Business Council.
Thank you.
StubHub CEO Eric Baker and his executive team are on the trading floor and have just signed the Distinguished Guest Book. Baker will ring today's opening bell at 9:30 Eastern before shares of Stub begin trading later today. So don't go anywhere. StubHub is going to ring the opening bell next.
Today, we officially begin our journey as NYSE.
Now you're part of our 2,400 companies listed on the New York Stock Exchange platform.
This milestone is thanks to all of you. We've established ourselves as a market leader.
And you stand at the forefront of building materials across North America.
Today, NYSE becomes the partner of choice for the professional builder of North America. As NYSE, we rise every day, and we are investing right here to help build that ambition.
How did this little company that was struggling 4 years ago get to this stage? In 2025, here we are today.
Congratulations, you priced above the range, you opened up 39%, you closed up 45%.
We're just getting started, and we look forward to proving ourselves to you over and over again. Today, we honor this new responsibility, and we are celebrating not this IPO, but the people that got us here. So we'll continue to innovate, we'll continue to push the boundaries. This is not the end, this is the beginning of a new chapter.
Welcome back to NYSE Live. A lot of excitement on the floor. In just a moment, StubHub will ring the opening bell as it celebrates its IPO on the New York Stock Exchange. The firm is well known as a global online ticket marketplace designed to connect buyers and sellers of live event tickets, including sports, concerts, and theater. According to StubHub, fans purchased over 40 million tickets from over 1 million unique sellers on its marketplace last year. It was founded in 2000, and StubHub now spans more than 200 countries and territories around the world, operates in 33 languages, and offers transactions in 48 currencies. In just a moment, we're going to see Eric Baker, StubHub's co-founder and CEO, ring the opening bell. It is always an exciting moment. It is an IPO day, an opening bell for StubHub. There is a chant going on the floor. We see StubHub's CEO and co-founder Eric Baker up at the podium, and stocks are officially open for trade. And joining me now is Richard Saperstein. He's the CIO at Treasury Partners. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So a lot of excitement for StubHub, but also a lot of anticipation for this Fed meeting. What do you think is going to happen at 2 p.m. today?
Likely 25 basis point cut, an indication of 2 more cuts this year. But I think it's important to recognize that there's must-do cut policy changes and can-do policy changes. In this case, it's a can-do. If we look back to 22 when we had raging inflation, we had must-do policy change. We had to tighten rates very significantly. Markets interpret it differently. In this case, we have a can-do policy change. After all, employment is slack a little bit, but not really dropping tremendously. Inflation's trailing lower, so the economy's strong. Not a must-do cut, but I think we're going to get a can-do cut.
So some people I'm speaking with think there might be a 50 basis point cut. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think they can go that high?
They can do anything. I think what's built into the market is 25, but empirically the Fed is always behind the curve. So stocks are moving because of other reasons other than the Fed. This could only add a little bit more juice to the environment we're in for stocks.
And Fed Chair Powell is going to be making remarks after this decision is handed down. What questions do you hope he might answer?
Obviously, we want to know what his thoughts are on tariff-induced inflation, the labor market, because those are the 2 mandates that the Fed will have right now, inflation and employment. Also, what his views are, or the committee's views are for economic activity. After all, second quarter GDP was above trend. It was very surprisingly positive. Earnings came in very strong. So there's a disconnect between this great concern, tariff-induced slowdown, recession, end of American exceptionalism, versus the reality on the ground.
And the Fed is, as you mentioned, they're trying to stick to that dual mandate while navigating the impact of tariffs. And what kind of environment do you think this sets up for investors?
Well, it's a really strong environment to own common stocks. We have tax policy has been solidified, so corporate America has 100% expensing in front of them starting in 26. Permitting is easing up. Deregulation, inflation, as I mentioned, is trailing lower, and we're only in the 3rd inning of a long AI tailwind. So I think there's a lot of benefits from AI that'll start leaching into corporate America to drive more productivity gains and more efficiency, which will lead to higher earnings growth with less labor costs.
And just to pivot a little bit, big tech valuations are rising. Google just hit a $3 trillion market cap. How should investors be looking at and approaching the tech sector?
Many investors are underweight large cap tech, and we have to look at this as a generational opportunity to invest in a select number of stocks that have global footprints, massive user bases in the billions, and they have recurring revenues and large moats around their businesses. And what we're seeing is a concentration of capital going into these companies because they're generating high amounts of free cash flow. Their operating cash flows are being reinvested, roughly 60-70% back into their businesses to further build out their footprints. So if you look at data center expansion, it's just amazing what the adoption's going to be, is currently, and we really want to be a participant of that. So investors should be invested in large cap tech. We are.
And despite everything that's going on with the economy, like tariffs, these higher rates, the market's pretty resilient. Do you think this is going to continue throughout the end of the year?
I'm sure there's some tail risk event that could occur that might set stocks back, but as a long-term investor, I think there's certain industry groups that are very attractive now. We talked about large cap tech. but there are peripheral companies that benefit from this expansion in AI and data centers, whether it's in the power sector, cooling the data centers, building the racks. There's just a lot of companies that will benefit from the trend that's in place, and well-established trend that's only going to be enhanced going forward. So I think it's very important to look at a longer-term view. The market in itself could obviously have short-term pullbacks, but in the end, stocks are where you're making the most amount of appreciation on your capital.
And for investors thinking long-term, do you have any suggestions outside of stocks, like perhaps municipal bonds, where they might be able to invest?
Yeah, we've recently had muni bond yields pop up over 4% tax-free, and they actually hit 5% tax-free about a month ago. So what's interesting is that opportunity to own muni bonds, generate high levels of tax-free income is currently here.
All right, and anything else under the radar that you think investors should be paying attention to right now?
Watch your asset allocation. Stocks have gone up 100% in 5 years, so you may be over allocated to equity, and it might be a good time to trim and add muni bonds at 4.5%.
All right, Richard Saperstein, thank you so much for joining us at the New York Stock Exchange.
My pleasure.
Still, shares of Canadian-based Pineapple Financial have soared so far in 2025. Its CEO joins me here in studio to reveal what's drawing the most demand as it looks to modernize real estate. Meanwhile, the CEO of Lithium Americas explained why the element is not only important from a practicality standpoint, but also necessary on a global level. Plus, NYSE-listed Redwire has launched venture firm SpaceMD. Its chief scientist tells us why the next big breakthrough may be literally out of this world. Stick around.
History of capital markets, the foundation of the dollar economy. We wanted to be here. This is a successful IPO. We have so much ahead of us. This doesn't happen without the extraordinary efforts of the people here. With that, let's go!
So today is a new chapter. Today is a new age.
Circle is building the foundation of our new economic system. We deeply believe we can raise global economic prosperity. We can change the outcomes of people's lives. I am so thrilled for this next chapter to begin today with all of you in this historic building.
"40 years, 40 million meals served across the city. That's no small feat. Your organization is so important, and we're so thankful that you are part of New York City."
I am so excited to be stepping in this role, mostly because of all of you, the 150 people that are back at our office actually working this morning, and the 23,000+ volunteers that come in and out of that building every year, and of course, the thousands and thousands of clients that we help every single day because of all of your hard work.
Welcome back to NYSE Live. Wall Street has seen records across its major averages in 2025, but not many companies have surged as much as Pineapple Financial. The mortgage technology and brokerage firm, which trades on NYSE American under the ticker symbol PAPL, has seen its shares jump by over 1,000% so far this year. Joining me now is Shubha Dasgupta, co-founder and CEO at Pineapple Financial. Shubha, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here.
So first of all, tell me, what does Pineapple Financial do? Like, what are your services that you offer, and who are your customers?
Yeah, so we're a mortgage fintech platform based out of Canada, and we've been building mortgage technology to help mortgage brokers across the country and into North America streamline their business. So everything from lead inception to document collection, fraud, compliance, analytics, everything's housed within one ecosystem, helping create a better consumer experience and a better experience between broker to bank and lender.
So if I was a user and I was using your technology, which I'm sure is AI driven, what would I be able to do on it?
So a mortgage broker, for example, would be able to, let's say, add a customer into their system, into their database. We'd be able to segment that customer, identify what their needs are, what they're looking to achieve in their home buying journey, and be able to sending them personalized and customized communications, helping them get information and education towards their goals. As we do that, we're able to onboard them into the system, into a secured environment, collect personal information, data, and run analytics and analysis to really determine what mortgage solution might best suit that customer's need. We have connectivity to over 200 mortgage lenders that we can then submit that file to, get an approval package back, and then take that customer right to closing. Throughout that entire process, we're analyzing for fraud, we're ensuring the highest level of compliance and integrity, so we know everybody's protected throughout the entire process.
All right, so shares jumped over 1,000%. Amazing. What do you think is driving that momentum?
You know, we're very happy to see that the market's responding to the work that Pineapple's putting in forth. You know, we're doing a lot of advancements in the world of AI, in the world of analytics, and introducing that into the mortgage landscape. And very recently, we introduced our digital asset strategy and a focus towards bringing mortgages on chain. And it looks like that the markets and the investor base responded really well.
Can you tell us more about that digital asset treasury strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, Pineapple's a mortgage originator, and today we're originating over $3 billion a year in mortgages. And as an innovator in our space, working to digitize and working to drive an evolution, the next natural course of evolution for us that we saw was putting mortgages on chain. And as we began researching and exploring what those opportunities and what those options could look like, we were fortunate to come across the Injective Labs team and the INJ token, which is a finance-first blockchain. And over these last couple of months, we've been working very closely with them to bring mortgages on chain. And as a first step to that, we invested $100 million into building a digital asset treasury through the INJ token. And this initial $100 million is obviously just a starting point to us. Over the next few years and months ahead, we have a strategy and a game plan to really become the largest holder of INJ token globally. $100 million to start, infinite to go for us.
All right, and how else is Pineapple Financial looking to modernize mortgages?
Well, really, it's about that on-chain experience, right? Creating more efficiency, more speed, and more transparency. It's an area that we felt has been lacking for eternity in the financial services sector, and we think that with this collaboration with INJ, we have an ability to lead and pioneer that evolution. When we look at Bitcoin as on-chain gold, when we look at ETH as on-chain internet, we look at INJ as on-chain finance, and we want to be the leaders in that space.
All right, and what's next for Pineapple?
Well, as we continue to pursue that, bringing mortgages on-chain, that's really what we're working with. Our product teams are working on bringing data over, servicing over, and hopefully being able to speed up the entire settlement process over time.
All right, Shubha Dasgupta, thank you, co-founder and CEO at Pineapple Financial. Thank you so much for joining us at the New York Stock Exchange.
Thank you so much for having us. It's our honor.
In other news, Lithium Americas says that phase 1 of its flagship Thacker Pass project is expected to be completed in late 2027. It's something I spoke with the company's chief executive, Jonathan Evans, about, as well as Lithium's growing presence on a global scale. Take a listen.
To see how important it is, how much it's grown over the last 10 years. I mean, this is an industry that's growing at 15% annual growth rates. And it's ubiquitous. Everyone thinks about mobility applications, electric vehicles, but we're sitting in this building here. This interview is powered by lithium batteries. Every universal power supply for a data center has a lithium battery in it. Missiles on ships, drones and on war fields. It's everywhere, and it continues to grow as we're a very power-hungry society. Even for the grid itself, a large-scale grid storage to stabilize our grids, and even connect it to renewable energy to store either the sun or the wind and use it at different times. So it's super important. It's a critical mineral. It's been on the U.S. Government and actually the European government, Canadian government, Australian government, Japanese government. It's been recognized as something very important. And now in the world we're in, very strategic as well.
Thacker Pass started in 2007. Can you take me through that project, the evolution of it, and what is going on at Thacker Pass?
Yes, it's been a long journey. It was started under a different company. In fact, the deposit, which is the largest known lithium deposit in the world, was actually discovered by Chevron looking for uranium. They didn't find a lot of uranium, but they found a lot of lithium. But back in the early 70s, that wasn't very important. In 2007, a company started to advance it. We took the asset over in 2016, did a lot more work on the geology, found that it was very unique, very, very cost effective, very, very environmentally friendly as well. And have worked now to basically build the whole team out, finance the project fully. We're fully financed, and start construction about a year and a half ago. We are in full construction deployed at this point. We've got about 500 crafts on site. Excavation has been done. We're pouring concrete, all aimed at opening this facility up in late 2027. It'll be the largest integrated lithium operation in North America. And it'll supply a portion of what the U.S. needs, not nearly enough, but the largest domestic supply of fully processed lithium that we'll have as Americans.
And who are your primary partners and customers?
So our key partner is General Motors. General Motors is the joint venture partner, but also they're our largest single shareholder in the company. GM has invested cash and cash equivalents, about $950 million. It's actually obviously key to their business for their own integrated battery operations and partnerships that they have with companies like LG and Samsung. Another backer from a financing standpoint is the U.S. government, via the Department of Energy, loans for critical minerals, ours being a large one. That's another piece of the capital stack. And then we have an investor called Orion. And Orion's private equity type firm that specializes in investing in not only critical minerals, but also precious metals like gold and silver.
What are some future milestones that we should look for?
All execution now. We're fully permitted. We have no legal issues, which most projects, even infrastructure projects in this country, run into, and it slows things down. That was a long, arduous process for us. That was 3 to 4 years in permitting. The milestones now are really execution in terms of construction. So we put our first steel up last week. We've got all of our critical equipment coming in from vendors around the U.S. and some locations around the world. And it's really milestones matched with labor. So we'll, at about 500 right now, we'll peak at about 2,000 workers end of next year and into 2027, and then we'll quickly ramp down. And I'll add, actually, we're in a fairly rural area of northern Nevada, so we provide room and board for all of our workforce because you've got people that are coming in some cases from the East Coast because we require skilled labor, welders, pipe fitters, and so forth. So to help them out, because we're in a smaller community, we offer free room and board as part of their 3 weeks on, 1 week off.
So the project has simulated the economy in northern Nevada.
Yes, it will. It already has in terms of the influx of workers coming in. But once we get up and running, if you look at what the benefit is from a tax standpoint, both federal tax, state, county taxes, I mean, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars.
And you're looking at 2027?
To start the plant up, we'll ramp up over the course of 2028. And by the end of 2028, we'll be running it at full rates.
And where do you see lithium extraction going in the next 5 to 10 years?
There's a lot of looking around now in the U.S., just given the run-up we had in rare earths, we had in lithium, and both are quite volatile because they're relatively small compared to something like copper or iron ore, which they're too small to be exchange traded. So Nevada, we have the largest known sedimentary-based asset. There's a lot of work going on in the regions of Arkansas and Texas for lithium development, Canada for hard rock. Traditionally, outside of China, it's been Australia. Australia essentially ships everything, the raw material that they have, it's not processed to China. And in South America, Chile and Argentina. So it's fairly limited, but you're seeing now every region of the world looking for this material. I think the Ukraine just is offering a tender now for a lithium deposit because Europe needs a close inshore source of it, because right now their import there is either from, usually in China, already embedded into batteries or cathodes, or coming from as far away as places like Chile.
You can watch the rest of my interview with Lithium America's CEO, President, and Director Jonathan Evans across our social media channels. Coming up, NYSE listed Redwire is looking to deliver on some out-of-this-world production, and that's not hyperbole. We'll have that story next.
I make them say wow.
I love celebrating companies on their listing day. And no matter where you're coming from to where you're going to, it is always so inspirational for me to listen to every company's stories and their journey.
Today is not about us. It's about each of you and every one of you. Because you all come here for a reason, to empower each other, to enable each other, to creating values. We are the independent global media, and we want to be a responsible media that we provide quality content, relevant content, ethical content, truthfulness, into what we report and what we deliver. Thank you.
Welcome back to NYSE Live. At the Fast Company Innovation Festival earlier this week, Redwire and SpaceMD chief scientist Ken Savin participated in a panel discussing the likelihood of life-changing innovation not coming from a lab, but from outer space. Ken Savin joins me now. Ken, welcome to the New York Stock Exchange.
Thanks for having me, Ashley.
All right, so what came out of this discussion?
Well, we were really here to talk about things that we're doing in space. So Redwire is a space infrastructure and military development company. So we build devices and infrastructure that enable work to be done in space. And we're really talking about the fact that it's becoming democratized, that real companies are doing work that will have not just value to NASA and their mission, but to people on Earth, to the American citizen.
Can you tell me about spinning out SpaceMD? Like, what type of work and technology are they looking into?
So SpaceMD is really an effort to get the full value from an investment that NASA and Redwire have made in the infrastructure that I've talked about, but it's really a very specific piece where we have developed hardware that enables us to grow pharmaceutical crystals for the pharmaceutical industry. And what we do is we take it to space where we use the unique environment of microgravity to make crystals that you can't make on Earth. We then bring those crystals down and use them as seeds to make larger and larger batches of that material for use in the pharmaceutical industry.
And why in space? Like, why can't these be made on Earth? What is unique about it?
So it is the microgravity environment. So on Earth, everything around us has developed or been evolving to a 1G environment. And in space, when you remove that, heat doesn't rise, things don't fall, and it allows us to make crystals that are larger and more perfect than you could on Earth.
And what kind of problems will this be solving for diseases?
There's actually a number of situations that we look for. We look for products that are maybe coming off patent that we're unable to achieve their full value, and we can reformulate them and sort of give them new life and bring them back in new patent life. We also look for products that never made it to market because of some issue related to their form or formulation, and we reformulate those and then bring them back. And we work with the pharmaceutical companies not only to bring them in through a mainstream format, through a process that is proven, but also because we believe that's the best way for us to get it to patients to get the full value from those products.
Are you able to share more about anything specific that you're working on?
Oh, we've done a couple of things. We actually just launched a mission on Sunday. Bristol Myers Squibb was our partner in that, and they're doing their own work for their mission. And we also flew about 9 molecules that are proven pharmaceuticals on the market market that we believe can be improved through this process.
What is the process around doing this in space, like that, like to actually the logistics,
That's
the managing?
a great question. That is a great question because I'm not from the space industry. I'm actually from the pharmaceutical industry. So this was all something I had to sort of learn. But what Redwire has done through investments made by Redwire and NASA, they've built devices that allow us to essentially a small laboratory in a box that can be taken by an astronaut, inserted to a facility, of which we've got 10 or 11 on station right now. And we see it in operations on the ground, and we run the experiment from the ground in that little box. We can watch what's happening and turn it on and turn it off. And it's essentially a little laboratory that allows us to do this. And when it's done, the astronauts will pull it, put it back into a capsule, and return it to us. It is semi-autonomous, and we're working towards a system that will be truly autonomous for when the space station is done. We can go to fly, spaceships that don't have people on, there are no astronauts. We'll be able to fly them in those as well. So we've all been working towards this, and it's really been a great collaboration with NASA to make this all happen.
All right, we have like 30 seconds left. What is next for Redwire?
Oh, there's a bunch of things that are going on. I think you're going to see a continuation of this type of work. We're expanding into other infrastructure within the space community. If I had to come up with a slogan, and unfortunately my management has not let me come up with one, but if I did, it would be that we don't make spaceships, we make them useful. And you can start to see all the power that's coming from that, especially as more and more things go to space and it becomes a more routine part of our lives.
Ken Sabin, thank you so much. Absolutely incredible work you're doing. And that's going to do it for today's coverage on NYSE Live. I'm Ashley Mastronardi. Kristen Scholler will be back tomorrow hosting. We will be here at 9 a.m. And remember, that Fed decision is going to come down at 2 p.m. today. And of course, we'll have full coverage on that tomorrow. Have a great day.
We're here to celebrate where we've come from for the last 233 years. Today is a new chapter. Today is a new age. And I think you'll agree that the new chapter is getting off to a good start. The right idea, the right approach, and the right technology will get rewarded in any market.
We can change the outcomes of people's lives everywhere.
The leap of faith, the vote of confidence, that is why we're standing here today, getting ready to ring the bell on the New York Stock Exchange.
Innovation, space, defense, national security is great, but our mission is you.
And what we're building is really, really important for the future of humanity. In an era of unprecedented technological advancement, companies like Voyager don't just adapt to change.
Rest assured, this is a milestone. It's an important one, but we're just getting started.
It's not the finish line. We have a lot of work to do, a new battle to continue to be waged.
So Voyager's future, best days lie ahead of us, not behind us.
The belief that every individual has the right to build a dream, to live peacefully, that is what Voyager's mission is. And with